finesse match. I mean, I will say one thing. They did pull out some moves that I was not expecting to see. I will give them that.
Dude, can I say this? And I know she may be a good person, but I'm not going to trash her. I'm just going to say that Alicia Fox is not as good as the other women in this match.
Yeah, I guess there's that. But I mean, there's like a tilt-a-roll backbreaker at one point. I mean, there was like a crossbody. You know, there was what else was there? There was some submissions.
The ending of the match was terrible.
Oh yeah, that was bad. Yeah, I remember there was also that one point where I guess Maurice and Alicia had to form like some kind of like team or whatever. Then all of a sudden they just like started this like fight or whatever. It's like I don't know. That was just weird to me.
But they had this intense face off. Like they like.
Oh yeah.
That's why I asked you. I'm like, were they a tag team? Like I was. Like,
I had to hear what either the commentators were saying or I had to like just think back for a second. But yeah, what can I say about that? So there was also the point where they did that. There's like that double submission. There was like the that camel clutch Boston Crab double submission thing, which I'll give them credit for trying to do that, I guess. But and then so then Eve would hit the roll the dice on Maurice and then the moonsault, but then Alicia would break up the cover. Then Alicia would just throw her out, and then she'd roll up Maurice for the win, and that'd be the match. Alicia Fox would win the Divas Championship. 5 minutes, 42 seconds. That's pretty much all I can say about it.
Yeah, I think we can tell the stars and pretty much move on.
Do we want to?
Sure.
All right. Jeez. I hate doing this.
So here's the thing. We see this every time we do this. The women at this point just weren't getting the opportunity. They were not actually go out and put on a show.
I know.
Nowadays, the women are the best thing. The best thing on SmackDown is Bayley and Sasha Banks.
Yeah, no, but I always do that. And I don't want to like beat it to death or whatever, but I always do that just because I don't know. I hate doing it because like I don't know. What can I say?
The women are so fucking good now and so fucking cool. I mean, they're almost a little better than the men at this point. That it's like, you go back and watch this and you're like, wow, that's one of the things about WWE today. The only things that's way better now is the women are actually getting a chance to put on matches, and they're oftentimes better than the men.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Well, I don't know how anyone could dispute that, but no, it's just I just hate doing it just because I just hate doing it just because like I feel like I'm just like hating or whatever, and I'm not trying to do that, but
No, neither am I. I'm just saying.
And the other reason why I say that. And the other reason why I say that is just because it seems like every single time we do a Divas match, that's what happens, like about every single time, with the exception of like 2 times.
When they were given no time on TV or on pay-per-view to build their stories, they were given no time for their matches. It's not going to go well when you're not given any time to do anything. I mean, we're just stating the truth. It's not their fault that their stories aren't great,
Okay, I'm just going to say it. 1 star. That's what I had.
What did I give it?
Half star.
Yeah, let's just...
Following that, we'd have Rey Mysterio and the Big Show backstage. We're both set to be in the World Heavyweight title Fatal 4-Way match. Big Show would say to Rey, I hope that that was a serenity prayer, Rey. Rey would respond to Big Show by saying, Big Show, I've been considered an underdog my whole life. Just like you, CM Punk, and Jack Swagger don't realize I have over 20 years of experience. I've been world champion before. I'm going to do it again tonight. Big Show would respond to Rey by saying, Rey, you're a man of faith, but some obstacles are just too big. Now you and I are friends and I respect you, but tonight, if it comes down to me knocking out Jack Swagger, CM Punk, or even you, I'm not going to hesitate. I'm going to pull the trigger and become the next World Heavyweight Champion. Mysterio would respond to that by saying, as big as that fist is, because as he was doing that, he'd put the fist like right up to his head, basically. Mysterio would respond to that by saying, as big as that fist is, my heart is bigger. I feel like in a way that segment kind of gives you the vibe that Rey was going to win.
Yeah, especially since no one else in the world title match got a backstage segment.
Yeah. So the next we have... Oh, wait.
I was just going to say that's kind of revealing. And also, it just made sense for Ray to win this. You knew it wasn't going to be Big Show.
Yeah, and it wasn't going to be Punk.
Swagger had grown kind of stale with the belt.
Yeah, I think people were kind of hoping that would end at this point.
Yeah. And I think Punk at this point wasn't really,
So we'd have a singles match. It'd be Chris Jericho versus Evan Bourne. Now, Chris Jericho would come out to a bit of a pop, which was a rarity at the time. The show was in Long Island, New York, and Jericho was born in Manhasset. So I don't know if that was anything to do with it. But regardless, before the match, we'd have him cut a promo.
Basically.
He'd say everyone...
Best in the world, all that stuff.
He'd say everyone in the building tonight or watching at home under the age of 25 realizes that I am the reason that you are watching the WWE right now. Everybody older than that age knows that this is the reason that you continue to watch the WWE to this day. When I came here, I hooked you with my brilliance. I influenced and changed their lives for the better. But now I have a problem. Seems like Chris Jericho is no longer the hot topic of the WWE. Not the buzzword of this company. I mean, even my NXT protege, Wade Barrett, is getting more attention than me, and rightfully so. He's been making an impact, while lately I have not. And I realize the reason for that throughout my entire career, from the day I started making a name for myself in WCW to the day I made my first appearance here in the WWE, until I led Shawn Michaels into one of the greatest rivalries in the history of this company. I've always fought uphill. I've always been the underdog. I've always been the man trying to knock someone off the top of the mountain. Well, now I'm at the top of the mountain and everyone is trying to knock me off. And despite that fact, I'm the most important performer on this roster. Despite the fact that I'm the greatest champion of this generation or any other, I know none of you parasites can relate because you've never been the best in the world at what you do. But I have for the last decade, and now I have a target on my back. And it seems like Evan Bourne, in a long line of superstars, trying to make a name for himself at my expense. Even last week after Raw, he hit me with his shooting star press despite the fact that the match was being over. It was uncalled for, it was unnecessary, it was unacceptable, it was not fair, and I did not deserve that. I was a victim. But I demand restitution, and that this is why I challenged Evan Bourne to a rematch, because I'm an honest man. I face my challenges face-to-face, eye-to-eye, unlike the dishonest, fly-by-night wannabe never was Evan Bourne. And Bourne, it's admirable that you're the master of the shooting star press, because like a shooting star, your career began in the blaze of bright lights and fanfare, and that's going to end up snuffed up, burnt out at the hands of Chris Jericho. Do you understand what I'm saying to you right now?
Let me say this. This is my match of the night.
Oh, hands down, it was match of the night. I really, really actually like this one, and it's just kind of weird because I get there wasn't like much of a program like going into it, like this was a like a rematch of a match that had taken place on Raw, but it's just weird because like Evan Bourne just beating Chris Jericho like at this stage on pay-per-view, I feel like it should have been like a way bigger deal than it was.
Yeah, Jericho putting over the young guy, like he's known to do it, and Jericho's never been one to not put people over.
No, that
give him back to the business.
Yeah, I don't know how anyone.
Once again, why he's just awesome.
Yeah, I don't know how anyone could not be a fan just for that fact, because he's especially during those later years in WWE, like he was putting people over like better than you could say like a lot of people with his like time and experience.
And now
in the
in
company.
AEW, he carried the belt for a while and then put over Moxley so he could have his run now with it and stuff like that. And just here, great match. Well, I wouldn't say. Yeah, I gave it 3 3/4.
Yeah, I did the same. I thought they really, really good.
Yep, match of the night. There's some cool spots in it. It was nice to see Jericho put over the young guy, and like I said, overall, just a really good match.
Yeah, and it was because the crowd was cheering for Jericho. I remember there was a "Let's Go Jericho" chant at one point, which I guess Cole would have to like try to play it off as like it's mixed reaction for Jericho because that's what they have to do every time the heel starts getting cheered. Yeah, there were some good spots as you said. I remember there's one point where there was he had Adam in the walls of Jericho in the middle of the ring, and then he had to like fight his way over to the rope, so that got the crowd behind him.
Scrappy baby face.
Mm-hmm. And then there was the Papa Frankensteiner, which was beautiful. That's the other thing. Like, I know, like, I think we said that this before. I think it was more so, I think it was the Money in the Bank show, the 2001 Money in the Bank show we said this, but Evan Bourne just really underrated in a lot of ways before his time. But with this win over Jericho, this could have, you think maybe at least amounted to like a U.S. title run or something. At least something like that.
Yeah, once again, Evan Bourne was never really utilized to his full potential, in my opinion. But
yeah, really missed out on having a cruiserweight division at this time.
Yeah, like I said, 205 Live was around, he'd be the face of the division.
Oh yeah, he'd be the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows? We'll see how things pan out for years to come. Maybe one day he'll come back. Who knows? No, it's not impossible. I guess they say never say never, right?
Mm-hmm.
So towards the end, he would go for the shooting star press, but then Jericho would cut him off. And then Bourne would give him a front suplex off the top, and then he would finally hit the shooting star press, but this time on Jericho's back. And then he would cover him and get the pin, and he would win the match.
Yep, great. Really good match.
Yeah, 3 3/4 from both of us. 12 minutes and 5 seconds I had for the recorded time here.
Mm-hmm.
So the next we would have the Fatal 4-Way match for the World Heavyweight Championship. It would be Jack Swagger defending against Rey Mysterio, The Big Show, and CM Punk. During the video package, I couldn't help but discover that Kane would end up chokeslamming each of the 4 competitors in this match, laying them all out. So we'd have a guy who's not in the match at the pay-per-view, who's lost 2 opportunities to be in the match, and laying out all 4 guys who are actually in the match.
Yeah,
for the World Heavyweight Championship, nonetheless.
This was, in my opinion, highly disappointing.
Well, I agree. No, I definitely agree. But it's just like between these, I was far more into the other one to begin with.
Yeah, same with me. Because I think this one was super predictable. Not the other one wasn't, but the other one was more invested because of the Nexus storyline.
Yeah.
But with this one, let me just say, the ending of this sucked.
Oh, it was horrible. Also, keep in mind that this is actually another thing to point out. This is the Straight Edge Society version of CM Punk. So at the Over the Limit pay-per-view, he had lost to Rey Mysterio, so he got his head shaved bald. So at this stage, he was wearing the mask.
Which was just so stupid.
I couldn't take him serious.
Yeah, this was awful.
It was kind of funny, though. But
it was, but you could never put the world title on him at this stage because of that.
Mm-hmm. So, what to even say about this, actually? I mean, there are some spots, I mean, like, they'd try to take out Big Show early, then Big Show would just kind of, like, come back with some, like, headbutts and some clubbing blows, and then, I guess Stryker earlier in the night would say that the only way they're going to try to be able to win this thing, or, like, a strategy going into it would be trying to making a triple threat match by taking him out of the picture. So then, then later in the match, Kane would come out. He'd have a casket, and which is, I guess, symbolic, as Michael Cole would say, a symbolic casket.
He didn't get pyro, did he?
No, he just came right out there.
Which was weird with the casket. After all this, of course, Ray would win the match.
Yeah, so he'd hit Swagger with the GTS, and then Kane would come out. And then Kane would open up the casket, and he'd signal that for Punk. And then he chokes on Punk into the casket, but then he tried to shut up, but then out would come Luke Gallows, who would boot Kane, and then he'd get Punk out of there, and then try to escape, and then Kane would just chase after him. And then meanwhile, in the ring, Ray would hit the 619 and then drop the dime on Swagger and would pin him to win the World Heavyweight Championship. This would be Ray's second world title.
Yeah, not a great finish, in my opinion.
Yeah, what can I say about this, I guess?
What are you going to do? What did we give the star-wise?
You went with the 2. I went with 2 and a quarter.
Yeah, I didn't really like it.
I didn't either.
What are you going to do? This was just to build to Kane and Undertaker.
I guess it is what it is. The next, we would have Josh Matthews backstage with the WWE Champion John Cena. Josh would ask John if he was concerned with the overwhelming threat of the NXT Season 1 rookies showing